Good morning, dear learners. Welcome to teaching learning session of sociology. Today we'll discuss dimension of social stratification of BSOE 148, block 3. As we all know that our society has been divided, has been stratified into various stratas, and one of those stratas, one of those aspects is caste and class. Caste plays an important role in Indian social stratification. In Indian society, there are four varnas, and on the basis of four varnas, there have been various castes. There is a hierarchical model of caste system. There are some basic features of caste model. Andre Betaille has outlined the basic feature of this perspective of the caste model of Indian society while examining its usefulness as a scheme of analysis. As there are four varnas, various castes are there in these varnas. Andre Bataille tried to analyze the usefulness of this scheme of analysis. According to Andre Bataille, it is based on the idea held and expressed by certain sections of the people and not on the observed behavior, although secondary empirical materials have been used, right? So in this model, it is based on the idea held and expressed by the certain section of the people and not on the observed behavior of the people. It attaches a kind of primary and universal significance to the caste in India, as this has been conceived in the classical text because it has been written in the classical text. So this has been taken from there. The entire system is viewed as being governed by certain more or less explicitly formulated principle of rule of the game, and the different castes, which are basic unit in this system, are conceived as fulfilling complementary functions, and their mutual relationship as seen as being non-antagonistic. Andre Bataille points out the two dangers of this model. First, that it is so general a theory that it can actually be applied to any society, not only to the Indian society. It is too general that it can be applied to any of the society. And secondly, it fails to take into account the details of the economic and the political life, because economic and political life plays an important role in stratifications. Then MS Srinivas has given the concept of Sanskritization. We have discussed the concept of Sanskritization in our last lecture. He has given the concept of Sanskritization in which the lower caste try to imitate the upper caste and try to move up. The concept of Sanskritization is one such dominant process of change in the caste system, because they try to move up because of imitation, because of their increase in the living standard. They try to imitate the behavior, the living standard of the upper caste, and they try to move up. And because of this Sanskritization process is a dominant process of change in the caste system. Sanskritization could be observed in terms of specific context in which it occurs. And secondly, as a historical process of change in the caste system as a whole. So we can see Sanskritization in terms of the specific context as well as the historical process of change in the caste system. Another process of cultural change described by the Srinivas is called the westernization. Westernization is when people try to adopt the values of a Western culture. That is westernization. It brings about changes in the values, norms, and vary the cultural roots of the people, because they try to imitate the cultural values and the norms of Western culture. Yogendra Singh sees these to have implication for structural changes in the caste system in particular and in Indian society in general, epitomized as a revolt against the hierarchy or captured in the modernization process. According to Yogendra Singh, this is a revolt against the hierarchical system of caste in India, and it is captured in the modernization process, westernization and sanskritization. Structural changes. What are the structural changes? The structural changes appear as the land reforms, the spread of education, social legislations, democratization, industrialization, and urbanization. All these are the structural changes, because it brings the structural changes, the land reform, education, social legislation, democratization, industrialization, urbanization, all these create or brings the structural changes in the society and the effect on the caste system, and these have effect on the caste system. Specifically, the adaptive mechanism, such as the caste association, appear as mechanism of social mobilization. And because of these structural changes, there are changes in the caste system, and there is a change of mechanism of social mobilization. People, all these things mobilize the society. The organization strives mainly for the fulfillment of the materialistic and mundane goals for their members, thereby making them more aware of their deprivation and structural impediments. So these industrialization process, whether it's a land reform process or the education process, all these organizations strives mainly for the fulfillment of the materialistic and the mundane goals. And because of their um, uh, these helps the members of the caste or the society to be aware of their deprivation or the structural impediments. Economic relations. The caste system has an economic and the power relations. Right? Economic relation, the caste system has also been considered to be a system of economic relations. Economy, the caste is there is a economic relation, there is a nexus between the economics and the caste system. John Menker writes that for those at the bottom, the caste system has worked a very systematic tool of exploitation and oppression, because it is a hierarchical system, and those who are at the bottom and those who are at the top, they have all the economic power, and those who are at the bottom of that hierarchy, according to the John, right? The caste system has worked in a systematic tool, in a very systematic way, for exploitation and the operation. It because they don't have economic power, because they don't have economic viability. So they this caste system worked as a systematic tool for the exploitation and operations of those who are at the bottom of this hierarchy. One of the function of system has been to prevent the formation of classes with any commonality of interest, of unity of purpose. The one of the main function of this system, that is the economic relation, is to prevent the formation of classes. Why they prevent the formation of the classes? When they will form the classes, it will unite them, right? So the main function of this is to prevent the formation of classes with any common interest of unity of purpose. So they prevent the formation of classes with any common purpose for unity of purpose. The main function of this system, the economic caste system, is that so that there should be the no class system, so there should be the no classes with a common interest, so that there should be the no unity. And when there will be the no unity, it is easier for the higher classes, those who are at the top of the hierarchy, to control those caste, those who are at the bottom of the hierarchy. John has used class in Marxian sense and adopted the Marxian model to analyze the caste relationship. Marx has given the concept of the class conflict theory. It has been given by the Marx. So John has used the class in the Marxian sense and adopted the Marxian model to analyze the caste relations with the class. Caste is a system of exploitation rather than a system of interdependence and reciprocity. So as Marx told that class, there are two classes, right? Bourgeois class and the working class, and these classes, the capitalist exploits the working class. In the same manner, John used this class, has been used a class in sense, and adopted the Marxian model in the caste relationship. According to the John, the caste is a system of exploitation rather than the system of the interdependence and reciprocity. They try to exploit the higher caste on the caste which are higher on the hierarchical system, tries to exploit those caste who are at the lower side, or they are at the bottom of the hierarchical system. So it is a system of exploitation rather than the system of interdependence and reciprocity. Caste stratification has been a deterrent to the development of a class conflict or a proletarian consciousness. This caste stratification, when we have divided the groups on the basis of the caste, it creates it has been a deterrent in development of the class conflict or the proletariat consciousness, as we discussed, that it prevents the formation of classes with a common goal, if for the proper unity purpose. So the one of the main aim of the class of caste stratification is not to develop the class system, or it act as a deterrent of the development of the class conflict or a proletarian consciousness. It prevents the proletarian consciousness. The consciousness should not be there within the working group, so it prevents that. The most crucial point for consideration is that classes are not found as a system of stratification in the same way as caste are entrenched in the Indian society. Right? Classes are not that much important in Indian society as caste system has its roots in Indian society. Right? So classes are not found as a system of stratification in the same way as the caste are entrenched or a system of stratification in Indian society. So in Indian society, class caste is more important than the class, and the caste stratification plays an important role in Indian society rather than the class stratification in Indian society. Most of the problems created by caste system are still of the class nature, because class nature means the higher caste, those caste who are at the higher on the top of the hierarchy oppresses or oppresses the lower caste. So most of the problem created by the caste system stratification is same of the class system stratification. These problems are essentially those of privileged and the disprivileged, and cannot locate these as a concrete group in a strictly Marxian sense as a class antagonism. Class consciousness and class unity are not present. So problems are privileged. Those who are at the top of the hierarchy, they are privileged. Those who are at the bottom of the hierarchy, those castes are disprivileged, and cannot locate these in a concrete grouping in strictly Marxian sense. You cannot, because the one of the main aim of class system is not to form the class system. So these, they cannot locate as concrete group. They cannot locate in the concrete grouping in strictly Marxian sense. The class antagonism, class consciousness, and class unity are not present because of absence of the, because of class is not properly present. The main aim of this caste stratification is to deprive the formation of classes. So the class consciousness is not there. Because of absence of class consciousness, people don't unite together. They don't ask for their rights, right? Power and dominant caste. Power and dominant caste is the dominant caste, those castes who are at the top, who are at the top of the hierarchy. They possess the power, right? They possesses the power, and those dominant caste oppresses the caste who are at the bottom side of the hierarchy. Whether it's an economic power, whether it's a political power, they possesses the power, and they play the power game. And this power, but with the use of this power, political power and economic power, they exploit those castes who are at the bottom or who are at the lower side of the hierarchy, right? Caste is an ascribed property. Caste, we get the caste by birth, and uh, caste is achieved type of class is achieved. We achieve a class on the basis of our education, on the basis of our abilities, right? Race and ethnicity. What is race? What is ethnicity? Though the concept like race and ethnicity are considered as biological, but such concepts have deeper meaning and social constructions. Race and ethnicity are biological concepts, but these race and ethnicities, these concepts have deeper meaning and the social construction. They play very important role in stratification of society. They are not just the social construction, rather they lead to creation of various identities and marginalization of different social groups. So that's why they plays a very important role in social stratification. They, although they are the biological concept, but they have a deeper root in the social constructions, and they have a deeper meaning in society, and they lead to the creation of the various identities and the marginalizations of the different social group. We marginalize various social group on the basis of their race, on the basis of their ethnicity. What is race? If we want to define the race, how can we define a race? Race, in common parlance, race is understood as external physical feature of various human beings whose categorization depends on the features like the skin color, facial features, height, etc. So, what is race? How can we define a race? We define the race on the basis of external physical feature of human beings. External feature of human being like skin color, hair type, hair color, height, facial feature like thickness of the lips, nose, on the basis of nose, eyes. So these are the, so in this way we can define a race, that is the external physical feature of various human beings. These categories are considered as biological, that is, they are inherited. Hence, widely race is regarded as biological category, but they have a deeper roots in the social stratification or in the society or in the social construct. Although all these physical features are biological and we inherit this, these are these we get these features because of our genes, because of the genes present in our chromosomes, but still they are regarded, but they have a deeper root in society, right? A racial group is described as a group having same physical traits. So what is a race? A race, we the human beings have a different physical feature, that is a race. And what is a racial group? Racial group describe a group having a similar physical traits, those who have the similar physical traits, similar hair type or hair color, similar type of a nose structure or the lip structure, or say skin color, then that is known as a racial group. Racial group, a group having a similar physical trait, that is known as a racial group. And race, though race is differentiated on physical characteristics. It is a condition where groups see similar characteristics between themselves and seeing others as a different. So racial group is those who are that group which are having the same physical traits and they see themselves as they see these conditions where group sees similar characteristics between them and sees others as different on the basis of their skin color, their hair color, or their structure of their hair, right? Such kind of division was made basically by the physical anthropologist during 18th century and considered as scientific classification of human being. Before that, there was no such classification, and this has been made by the English people while they starting decolonizations. Just to show their superiority, they started all these things. Along with physical feature, most of the times behavior characteristics were also added to the various races. There are the physical features. Apart from the physical features, behavior characteristics were also added to the various races. Frederick Farrar in 1866 lectured on aptitude of races, where he divided the people into three groups based on civilization. The first group is savage group, all African, indigenous people, people of color, with the exception of Chinese. So savage type of a people. Then semi-savage Chinese who were once savage but now well civilized. Civilized European, Aryan, and Semitic peoples are civilized. So, Frederick Farrar in 1866 divided the people into three groups based on the civilization. Civilization means savage, all African, indigenous people, people of color, with the exception of the Chinese, all are savage. Semi-savage is Chinese people, and civilized European, Aryan, and Semitic peoples are civilized people. They have done this when they started colonizing the world, and when the colonization process started, just to show their superiority, they divided it into races and ethnicity. Carlos Linnaeus, a German taxonomist, classified human beings into four categories depending on skin color: American with the red skin color, European white skin color, Asian yellow skin color, and African with the black skin color. So, on the basis of civilization and on the basis of the skin color, people have been categorized into various races. With the red skin color, they are known as American. Europeans have white skin color, Asians have yellow skin color, and Africans have the black skin color. All these skin color, they are, or other features, they are the biological construct. But race as a sociological construction, a social construction. Though it is widely believed by many that race is a biological category, but sociology but social scientists or sociologists and even biologists argue that race is not a biological or inherited category, rather it is a social construct. Why they say that it is not a biological construct, it's a social construct? Because the biological studies over a race and its genetics indicate that within a so-called given race, much more variations are found than between the races. Even if there are various biological studies which indicates that within so-called given race there are much variations found than between the races. In between the races there are variations like their skin color could be different, their hair color could be different, the texture of their hair could be different, right? Their texture of their features could be different. So according to the biologist, sociologist, the race is basically a social construct rather than a biological construct, right? The creation of racial identity is the process of creation of hierarchy between the people, thereby some group enjoy power and privileges. Why they have created the racial identities, as the sociologist, social scientist said that, and even the some biologist says that this is a biological construct, this is a sociological construct rather than the biological construct, is because by through this racial through the creation of racial identities, it creates the hierarchies between the people. Those who are white in color or those who have a fair skin, they consider themselves as superior, rather uncivilized, rather than those who are black in color. So they group more power and privileges when the white people started when the Europeans started this colonialization process. They developed the process of this racial identity just to show their power, just to enjoy the power, privileges, and show their superiority. So it's a sociological construct more than a biological concept. The idea of race has no scientific basis. So it is no scientific basis here. So it's a social construct rather more than the biological basis. The skin color of people varies due to presence of pigments and melanin in the skin. Why few people are white in color, red in color, while others are black in color or yellow in color? Because of a pigmentation, because of presence of a pigment, melanin in the skin. Melanin is a pigment which is responsible for the skin color. Those who have less melanin, they are white in color, or those who are more melanin in their skin, they are black in color, right? Racism. What is racism? As historian and other scholars admit the fact, the human originated in Africa and migrated to the different geographical location in various phases of history. So, as per historians, the human originated in Africa, and from Africa they moved to the various location in various phases of history. So basically the human originated in Africa, as per historians. People adopted the geographical differences and adopted the favorable trait suitable for those particular environment, that is the survival of the fittest, to those who adopted the changes, who adopted the favorable suitable traits according to the geographical differences, according to the particular environment they survived. And people adopted the geographical differences and adopted the favorable traits suitable for those particular environment. During the 18th and 19th century, the colonial power in different places of world used racism to establish their supremacy. So, race and racism, 18th and 19th century, the colonial power in different places in the world used racism to show their supremacy, to enjoy the power and privileges. They even took the help of the religion and science to establish their racial supremacy and the differences. Now, they took the power of the religion and the science to establish their racial supremacy and the differences. The colonial also legitimized slavery as well as lots of other myths to create subordination of black and colonialized people. A race is a process of creation of othering, that is process by which you separate yourself from other people in terms of superiority and inferiority. Although race is based on the certain physical traits, but it is a process of creating others versus we, right? So race is a process of creation of othering, that is process by which you separate yourself from people, other people in terms of superiority or inferiority. This is also a process through which some people are marginalized, dominated and controlled. On the basis of color, few people are marginalized, few people are dominated and controlled by those so called supreme people, those who enjoy power. It also creates various kind of stereotype in the race, also created, or racism also created various type of stereotypes in our society. The idea of race was not scientific, rather a process of racialization of a group. So it is not a scientific process. Race is not a scientific idea, but it is a process of racialization of a group just to show the supremacy, just to enjoy the power and privileges of few. Race was a social construction where cultural meaning is attached or imposed on it. Even the very data of race has changed, very idea of race has changed over a time. So it is not a biological construct, it is basically a social construct where cultural meaning is imposed or attached to it. Everyone wants to be a fair skinned. We like fair skinned people rather than the black skinned. Why? We like straight hair rather than curly hairs. Why? How does it make the difference? The skin color and the hair color or the hair texture, how does it make a difference to a human being? Actually, a cultural meaning has been attached to these traits. Why cultural meaning has been attached to these traits? Because just white wants to show their supremacy and wanted to enjoy the power and privileges. Even the very idea of race has changed over time. Ethnicity. The word ethnic has long history. It is the word ethnic has been derived from a Greek word ethnos, meaning nation, which is not depicted as a political entity but as a unit of a person with common blood or a descent. So ethnos means common blood or a descent means nation. It doesn't mean a political entity or a particular geographical entity, but it is a unit of a person with a common blood and a descent. Ethnics were those others who are not us. It us versus others. Ethnic are those others who are not us. Ethnic is originated from a Greek word ethnos. Ethnos means nation. Nation is not the nation doesn't mean the political entity, but it is a unit of a person with common uh, descent and a blood. It is those who are others who are not us. By the 20th century, its meaning changed again with reassertion of its Greek roots, indicating the end of them versus us idea. Now it is used as a particular way to define not only others but also ourselves. So it defines it not only defines others but it defines ourselves. Amen. Using the French version of Athens, namely Athens, defines them as a people characterized by a common history, tradition, language, and lifestyle. So, as per a French sociologist, Amen, right? Ethnic means people who are characterized by common history, common tradition, language, and lifestyle. Those who share the common history, who share the common language, lifestyle, and tradition, they are known as ethnic. He also added a feature of uprootedness from home to this definition with common characteristic, with common language, common history, common tradition, common features, common lifestyle, and uprootedness from home, according to Oman, is ethnic. For him, ethnicity emerges when people are uprooted from their homeland due to conquest, colonization, or immigration, and diverse groups come into contact with each other in a new setting. When they uprooted from their places because of any of the reason, because of immigration, because of colonization, because of wars, because of any other thing, right? When the diverse group come in contact with each other in a new sector, new settings, then the ethnicity emerges according to Omen. The ethnicity emerges when the people migrated from one place to another, or when the diverse group come in contact with each other because of any of the reasons, contact with each other in the new setting, then the ethnicity arises. If such displaced people are away from their homeland and yet continue to follow their native lifestyle, then they are ethnics. If they have not changed their lifestyle, if they are away from their homeland but still following their native lifestyle, then they are known as ethnics. So ethnicity is originated from a Greek word ethnos, right? It means ethnos means nation, means those who share same culture or descent or the blood, right? Early conception of ethnicity. A look at the literature reveals the three popular conceptions of ethnicity: the biological conception of ethnicity, the cultural conception of ethnicity, and the psychological conception of ethnicity. Right? The biological conception is based on common genetic descent. In this sense, the ethnicity has been treated as synonyms with the race. Race means those who have common genetic descent, those who have originate, those who have same blood and same descent, or common blood or the common descent, right? So the biological conception is based on the common genetic descent, and in this sense, the ethnicity has been treated as synonyms with the, it has been treated with synonyms with the race, right? And the second conception of ethnicity involved a new thinking which differentiated race from ethnicity. So there were the three conception. The first was the biological conception. The second conception of ethnicity involved a new thinking which differentiated a race from ethnicity, that is the cultural. Where ethnicity, when people have been displaced from their native place but still follow their culture, then that is known as the ethnicity. And the concept of this, the second concept of ethnicity is the cultural concept of ethnicity, involved a new thinking and differentiated a race from the ethnicity on the basis of the culture, right? Next is this view treated as a cultural phenomenon by the Burgess in 1978. Here, the mere sharing of physical trait was not seen as a sufficient condition for defining as ethnic group. Rather, symbolic differences among the group become a basis of ethnicity, with values, custom, historical background, lifestyle, territory, most importantly, language and religion become a prominent symbol of ethnicity, right? So in biological concept, the biological feature are the basic features of ethnicity when they are when they share some common ancestors, right, or the traits. While in the cultural phenomenon, just sharing the common physical traits are not sufficient condition for defining the ethnic group. Rather than this, the symbolic differences like values, custom, historical background, lifestyle, territory, their language and religion are the prominent symbol of ethnicity. The third conception of ethnicity defines it in terms of consciousness of common identity, both common descent and the cultural distinctiveness, individually and together, were no longer considered enough to constitute ethnicity. Instead, awareness among the people of a group regarding their similarity to each other and differences from other group was that gave an ethnic identity. The third was psychological. So the third concept was important, the psychological concept, that the biological concept or the cultural concept, either differently or together, are not enough to consider or to consider enough to constitute the ethnicity. Either together the biological concept or the cultural concept, or differently the biological concept or the cultural concept, they do are not considered enough to constitute the ethnicity. But instead, awareness among the member of the group, and this aware regarding their similarity to each other and differences from other group was what gave them an ethnic identity. This is the psychological construct, right? Sharing of physical, attitudinal, behavior, and cultural feature was not considered sufficient to foster the ethnic feeling. So only the physical feature, the cultural feature, attitudinal feature, behavior feature, the cultural feature, they were not considered sufficient to foster the ethnic value. The group must also perceive themselves as a distinct from others. That is, the member must define themselves as we group. This psychology that we are different from others and the member must define themselves as a we group plays an important role. So this psychological construct plays an important role. Neither biological or cultural factors separately or together plays an important role, but the psychological factor also plays an important role, that given the people perceive themselves distinct from the others and they consider themselves as weak group. Ethnic groups. There are various ethnic groups. Paul Brass in 1991 discusses the three ways of defining ethnic group in terms of objective attributes, by reference to subjective feelings, or in relation to behavior. So, ethnic group, Paul Brass discusses defining the ethnic groups on the basis of objective attributes, a reference to subjective feeling, and in relation to behavior. The first definition implies that there are some distinguishing. The first is objective attribute. The first definition, that is the objective, implies that there are some distinguishing objective cultural features that separate one group from the another. Language, territory, religion, dress, etc. All these are ethnic markers. So the objective defines that there are some distinguished cultural feature, objective cultural features. First is objective feature, some objective cultural feature that separate one group from the other. Or these feature could be the language, these feature could be the dress, these feature could be the territory, these feature could be the religion, and all these are called the ethnic markers. All these are known as the ethnic markers. So these are the objective feature. The second aspect, that is presence of subjective feeling, implies the existence of ethnic self-consciousness that we are different, that is the psychological construct, that we are different from others, that is feeling of we group should be there. So this second aspect is presence of this subjective feeling that implies the existence of ethnic self consciousness. At the base of ethnic affinity lies real or assumed common identity. The important thing to keep in mind is that fact of common descent is not as important as belief in it. Ethnicity is a subjective construct. It shows how we see ourselves. The objective construct shows that we are different from others, and this difference could be on the basis of religion, on the basis of language, on the basis of territory, on the basis of dress. But the second aspect, that is the subjective aspect, is the feeling that implies the existence of self consciousness. Feeling of self consciousness, that is feeling that is assumed a common identity, that we are descent from the common ancestors, we have common blood. And the important thing is to keep in mind is that fact that common descent is not important, but belief in it, that we are different from others, or we have a common descent, that belief in that is more important. And ethnicity is a subjective construct. It is how we see ourselves, right? So ethnicity is a subjective objective construct. Second is subjective construct. Ethnicity is a subjective construct. It is how we see ourselves. The third dimension, namely the behavioral one, points to the existence of concrete, specific way in which ethnic group do or do not behave in relation to or in interaction with other groups. The third is behavior one. Behavior, the third construct is the behavior construct. And it points to the existence of concrete specific way in which ethnic group do or do not behave in relation to other. or in interaction with other group, how we should behave. So the first construct is the objective construct, which says that we are different from the others, and this difference could be on the basis of the language, on the basis of the dress, religion, etc. Second is the subjective construct. Subjective construct is belief rather than for second construct is belief that we have a common blood and a common descent. That is more important. And the third construct is the behavior construct, in which the ethnic this tells the how a ethnic group should behave in relation or interaction with the other group. In this sense, the normative behavior of ethnic group may include practices related to the kinship, practices related to the marriage, friendship, rituals, etc. So this is the behavior one. How these are the rituals, right? Such ethnic group is collectively which is perceived by others in the society. Collectivity. The ethnic group is the collectivity which is perceived by other in a society. So what is ethnic group? It is nothing but the collectivity which is perceived by others in the society as being different in terms of language, religion, race, ancestral home, cultural, etc., whose members perceive themselves as different from the others and who participate in the shared activities built around their actual or mythical common origin and culture. They are known as the ethnic group. Right? Is this clear now? I'm repeating it again. Being different in terms of language, in terms of culture, religion, race, ancestral home, and whose members, these are the objective construct, and whose members perceive themselves as different from the other subjective construct, and who participate in shared activities built around their actual or mythical common ancestor origin and the culture. They are known as ethnical group, that is behavior construct. Right? Ethnic stratification. Stratification is a system whereby people are unequally ranked and rewarded on the basis of wealth, power, mid prestige. What is stratification? Division. Stratification is division, where people are unequally ranked, divided, and rewarded. They are unequally ranked and rewarded on the basis of, on what basis? On the basis of wealth, on the basis of power. It is a part of every society. Mid may take various forms like class, gender, race, mid, of course, ethnicity. Right? So, so it could be on the this stratification could be on the basis of class. This unequally division or unequal rank and reward could be on the basis of class, on the basis of gender, on the basis of ethnicity. Ethnicity and gender being getting some attention in stratification analysis, but ethnic stratification is even replacing the class as the foremost form of social division, since now property relations tend to be determined by the ethnic ranking instead of being it other way round. Ethnic stratification shares a lot of things with other form of stratification such as ranking, inequalities, discrimination, and exploitation. So it shares this ethnic stratification when we divide, when we stratify the groups on the basis of ethnicity. On the basis of ethnicity, it shares ethnic stratification shares a lot of things with other form of stratification. What are they? They are the ranking. Few have been ranked higher than the others. There are inequalities, discrimination on the basis of colors or other things, and the exploitation, etc. Ethnic nationalism. What is ethnic nationalism? Ethnic, when minority groups try to play the ethnic card in order to acquire a better deal for themselves in a plural society, that is ethnic nationalism. When the minority group in a country or in a particular geographical areas play the ethnic card in order to acquire a better deal for themselves in a plural society, that is known as the ethnic nationalism. Some ethnic groups go a step further and demand, say, a political system, demanded a say in political system, or control over a piece of territory, or even demand a national status, that is country of their own. If they succeed in achieving any of these objectives, then they become a nationality or a nation, right? When the minority group try to play their ethnic card in the plural society, right? When they demand for their stay in the political system, or a control over a territory, or a nation, or a country of their own, and when they succeed in achieving any of these objectives, then they become a nationality or a nation. Nationalism and ethnicity. Nationality and ethnicity are related yet different. Ethnicity may become nationalism, and nationalism is always based on the real or assumed ethnic ties. Yet, at the heart of nationalism lie three themes of autonomy, unity, and identity. They are related but still different. Nationalism and ethnicity are related but different. Ethnicity may become nationalism, and nationalism is always based on the real or assumed ethnic ties. At the heart of nationalism lie the three themes of autonomy, unity, and identity. Autonomy. Autonomy implies an effort by people to determine their own destiny, free themselves from the external constraint. That is, they want to determine their own destiny. They want to free themselves from their external constraint. They want a separate nation for themselves. Unity means ending the internal divisions and united themselves and uniting. Identity involves an effort by a group to find and express their authentic cultural heritage and identity. Right? This is how this works. Nationalism is a form of ethnicity in which a particular ethnic identity is crystallized and institutionalized by acquiring a political agenda. Nations are created when ethnic groups in multi-ethnic state are transformed into self-consciousness political entities. It is goal of sovereignty, self-determination that set nationalism apart from ethnicity. Development of nationality. How nationality has been developed. First, there is transformation of ethnic category into a community, means we group, which involve changes like a creation of self-consciousness, linguistic unity, and formation of caste association. Right? So, development of nationality, the first is transformation of ethnic categories into communities. And how you can convert the ethnic categories into communities, it involves in changes like creation of self-consciousness, linguistic unity, formation of caste associations, etc. The second stage involves the articulation and acquisition of social, economic, and political rights for the members of their group and for the group as whole. When a group succeeds by its own efforts in achieving and maintaining the group rights through political action, political mobilization. It goes behind the ethnicity and establishes itself as a nationality. Why does ethnic becomes nationality? The question is answered by relative deprivation approach because of relative deprivation and the feeling of the frustration caused by the difference between what people feel. Right? That's all for today. Thank you very much. Namaskar.